I have a wonderful family. I have friends. I go to a good school. I getting an education. I got a bird. I still feel like shit. And I hate the thought of I'm not supposed to be this sad. I'm not supposed to be depressed. I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, many of us, including me, are not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors. Why? Well, in large part to help more people in more places feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. As I share every single episode, check the show notes if you'd like to learn more about all kinds of other things, including our membership. And if you like the podcast, if you get something out of it, please rate and review it on Spotify or Apple. It really helps people find it. And of course, we want more people to find it. Finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast. We don't hold back, so take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Billie. Billie lives in Norway, and they are a suicide attempt survivor. Hi, Billie.
Hi.
You've heard the podcast, right?
Yes, I have.
You know why you're unique? There's more than one reason, but do you know what it is?
I'm in Norway.
You are literally the first human being who resides, at least, in Norway, who has joined me here.
That's kind of cool, actually. And that's the reason why I reached out. Look through all of your episodes, like, no one in Norway? Oh.
No one in Norway. I'm pretty sure, and I didn't do research on this, but I'm pretty sure the reason we're talking isn't because you're the only person in Norway.
Of course not.
It's just that you happen to find the podcast, listen to it, and then reach out.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I started listening to it in the beginning of 2021. Been 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Now, for people that don't know, let's give our audience just a little 30-second summary of Norway. It is high up in the geographical stratosphere.
Northern Norway, yeah. I'm in northern Norway, but yeah, it's pretty far north in general.
Right. You have a lot of long summers and a lot of long winters.
I wouldn't say a long summer, but yeah, very long winters.
Long winters.
I can see on the top of the mountains, there's already snow.
A couple other facts. The capital is Oslo.
Oslo, yeah.
I'm sure it's a beautiful city.
It's very nice, yeah.
What else? That you're very good at Nordic sports.
I do.
Not surprising.
Yeah. I speak Norwegian.
And Billie speaks Norwegian. I always offer this as an option. For example, this week I spoke to a young lady named Grace in England, but she's originally from Hong Kong. Gave her the option to do this interview in Cantonese. And she said, yeah, that'd be great. And then I realized I don't speak Cantonese.
Yeah, you kind of have to, know the language people are talking to you in.
Right. I would offer the same to you in Norwegian, and I'm sure you'd be absolutely amazing at that, but we can't.
Would you understand me? No.
Not a word.
And there's a lot of dialects in Norway, like a ton.
One of the things I forgot to ask Grace, that's going to bother me. Because every time there's a new country, particularly a new language, that's what matters for this part of it. I want to know what the word suicide is in that language. So in Norwegian, I think this might be the only real word, other than maybe hello or goodbye, we get to. What is suicide in Norwegian? Your dialect.
Suicide in Norwegian is selvmord. It's basically self-murder. Selvmord.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fortunately, your English is great, so we could just do it in English. So you're in northern Norway. Share with the audience let's start with why you reached out.
Yeah, it's been a rocky road ever since I was 14. Lots of up and downs. And in that year, I was having a particularly rough time. So I just thought, you know what? I need a playlist with suicidal songs or something. I just need to listen to someone talk about it. I just need to hear someone mention it or, just explain it.
But why'd you actually want to talk to me?
Yeah, I wanted to talk because I want to share. like I hear every other person talk about this. I want it to be less taboo. Also, like I mentioned earlier, if you go to your podcast and you see Norway, then maybe someone in Norway could, reach out or feel less alone. Yeah, so I wanted to talk and share. And also because I don't think I haven't really talked about it much myself. So I kind of need to get it out.
Now, do you live alone?
Yeah, I live alone in my grandparents' big house. They're currently at a nursing home, too sick to stay at home. Yeah, they were like, you don't need to pay rent. We pay for it anyway. You can just live there with your bird. And I was like, fantastic. Yeah, I have a parrot called Poncho. He's in my bedroom right now because he's kind of noisy.
Birds aren't great for podcasts. So if I were to, we have a big house in northern Norway. If I were to look out or walk out of the front door, would I see buildings? Would I see mountains? Would I see trees? What would I see? Snow? Would I see people?
Yes, to everything.
Must get cold. I don't know how this is in Norway because people get used to things, but maybe a connection to long, dark, cold winters and not feeling so great.
Yeah, during the summers we have the midnight sun. Basically, it's bright all day long,
right,
all night long. And then during the winters, it's just dark. It's completely black the whole.
Not one day, not 1 hour.
It starts in like December and then the sun's back in like the end of January. But yeah, no sun whatsoever. Winters usually say up in here in Norway, like it's the depressive time. And people often use that as an excuse. Oh, you just have the winter depression.
Right. It's interesting. Right. Maybe more than that. It's also probably an opportunity for people to drink more.
Yeah. But I mean, they're not wrong because, you don't get the sunlight, lack of vitamin D. You're going to get more sad or more down at least.
I have to tell you, I kind of get Norway. I kind of get Sweden. I even get Russia. I don't get Finland. I just don't understand Finland. I don't know. Is it more Russian or more Scandinavian? The language is completely unique.
Like if I go to Sweden, I'm going to understand. If I go to Finland, I don't understand a word. I would say they're more independent, not very Scandinavian or Russian at all.
They're just Finnish.
Just Finnish. Mm-hmm. I love the country though.
Okay. No one from Finland have I spoken to for this podcast, by the way. So you're alone here. Does anyone know we're talking? Do you share this with people? Hey, I'm going to be on this podcast. Bald guy.
No. I was considering telling my best friend, but at the same time, they're not going to understand. So no one.
Now, you said 14. You mentioned that was a difficult time. How old are you now?
I'm 24.
So for the last 8 years or so, or 10 years, I should say.
10 years, actually. Wow.
From 0, even though you didn't remember this, to 14, kind of normal? I mean, as much as normal can be.
Yes and no. I've always been very privileged, living in a country with almost free medical care and going to school. It's free. Like everything is very open.
Free medical care and arguably free education is not a privilege. It is a basic human right.
Human right.
You don't have to agree with that. I'm sharing that. Oh my God, Sean, you're a communist, you awful Relax, hang on.
Get medical care to get an education. Everyone should have that.
I understand why some types of education, advanced education, maybe it's not free. But the healthcare one.
Medical care, food and water. Yes, please. A shelter, like a roof above your head. Yes.
So in any case, though, you had those things. But then you said yes and no. So what was the no part?
Okay, so when I was around 5, I got this hip syndrome, basically where the blood supply to your hip bone is blocked off. And then, it just became like a half moon or something. So I had a lot of physical therapy. I had to use a wheelchair. And I also still use crutches sometimes when it gets too bad. I need a hip replacement, but not for a while. I couldn't move physically that well. And also because of the pain, I started eating as a result because I was so sad. I just needed to feel something. And so I started comforting. Yeah, and that, of course, ended with me gaining weight. And I was picked on. And when I was using my wheelchair or crutches, people were like, oh my God, can I try? You don't even need it and stuff like that. And I didn't really have proper friends until like 8th grade when I was around 13. It was tough being kind of all alone.
Yeah. The hip sort of cascades or snowballs into all kinds of other stuff, right? Bullying, wheelchair crutches, weight gain.
And also because I couldn't join activities, in the free periods or something. I couldn't join every game they played. I couldn't play football. I was always slow on.
Is this the time to say at least the hip replacement will be free because you live in Norway? Is that the right time to say that?
I don't actually know if it'll be like completely free, but
Oh.
I'll only have to pay a small amount. I was recently to the dentist and I had to get a
Don't even,
filling done. Like,
don't even get me started on dental because I'm going to go fucking ballistic.
I paid 27 USD. But the like next year when I turn 25, then I'm gonna have to pay up to 100, 150 USD. That's not too bad.
No, during that time, and I don't know if you can recall this when you were growing up. Do you remember the first time you thought about not wanting to be alive?
I believe that was after I started self-harming though, in like ninth grade. I remember feeling just this sudden feeling of hopelessness and just feeling like I didn't fit in and that nothing I did was working out. I didn't get good grades. It had sort of, built over time, this hopelessness, but then all of a sudden it just grew too much. And I was like, what is this feeling? I hate this feeling. I hate being here. And I just thought, what if I wasn't here? Is that a possibility?
14 years old. When does the idea of it or the possibility of it turn into something more like active?
I would say when I was around 16, then I had been self-harming for 2 years. And I remember, sometimes you search up things on Reddit or something because you're down and then people mention stuff like suicide or other methods of self-harming. Yeah, at that point, I was really, really down in the dumps. So I thought, wouldn't it just be easy to just not be here anymore? So I started thinking about different methods. But what can I say? I wasn't exactly thrilled of thinking about ending my life until I was around 17. I also have to mention I got diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 15, sorry, a week before I started high school. That's difficult.
Yeah. So when you say self-harm, you're cutting?
Yeah, since the legal age to buy like knives or blades in Norway is around 16, yeah. I didn't have anything sharp and I didn't want to use the steak knives at my home, so I actually used a key.
So cutting, thinking about it more casually, if that's the right word, then you get diagnosed with diabetes. Brief little timeline here. And then when you get to 17, does anything like specifically change or is it just a matter of things piling up and getting worse?
Well, I did go to a high school with like more subjects in music. It was especially like for a musical high school, I guess. I did not have a good time. I didn't make friends with anyone and I was doing really poorly at my, assignments. Second, I fell behind. The teachers didn't even want to listen to me. They were just like, oh, you just have to work yourself up. I changed schools the next year though, but the feeling of disappointment in myself at that point was just too big. I hated the fact that I had chosen something and I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And you say to yourself, I'm going to take my life.
Yeah. The thought started spiraling actually from I was around 16, but I didn't attempt until I was 18. 5 or 6 separate occasions I had written suicide notes to my family and my friends. Always up until that point, I would just throw them away because, why would I need them? What am I doing? I'm so stupid. Just thinking, how could you do this to them? So you think, why am I being selfish? I'm doing this to everyone else. They're going to be so sad. I'm going to crush them. But
I actually never felt that way. Isn't that weird?
Interesting. Not weird. It's interesting.
I guess the thought crossed my mind. I've just written out notes of sorts. I don't think they were ever to anybody. It's more like, here's why, or, that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
I don't know why. There was something compelled me to do that. Okay, back to your notes.
I believe it's the 3rd or 4th time I'm writing the suicide notes, and I've come home from having a maths exam, and it went awful. And I remember my friends not kind of wanting to talk to me. No one wanted to hang out, and I really need reassurance or people to be with me a lot of the time. I'm a very lonely person, you can say. So no one wanted to do that. And at that point, I just thought, this is really fucking hopeless. Nothing's working. I'm so stupid. Life is bullshit. It's not going to get better at all. I went home. It was around 12 or 1 p.m. Started counting out my painkillers, paracetamol or Tylenol, it's also called. I believe I had like 30 grams of it and also quite a lot of ibuprofen. But yeah, I just sat in my bathtub, counting out the pills. No water, just me sitting fully clothed, counting out the pills. After some crying and cutting, I was cutting. I just thought, fuck it. So I just started chugging them down.
And are you living on your own as you do this?
This was when I was still living at my parents' home.
So were they there?
No, they were still at work till like 4 or 5. So I had a couple of hours to myself.
What happened next?
I think I managed to swallow down about 25 grams of the pills combined. Then I just got sick the second a pill touched my tongue. That's normal. The rest of the day I was super numb, super, super numb. Just, walking around, wasn't hungry, went to my bed just to lay there. And then around 9 or 10 p.m., I believe, I got a phone call from one in my class. Just wanted to talk about the exam stuff. And she said, why are you sounding so weird? Because I was kind of weak at that point. At that point, I also didn't really care about what I said. So I just said, I just kind of took a lot of pills. Immediately, she's like, I'm coming to get you. I have to mention, though, at that point, I was walking out of my room to get dressed, and my parents stopped me and was like, where are you going? And I said, my friend is coming to get me. She thinks I need to go to the hospital. And they were like, why? She doesn't know you. She doesn't see you. I basically just told them, I'm going to listen to her advice. She's going to come get me. And then I left.
Parents have any idea that you're struggling?
No.
Not suicidal, just struggling. They have no idea.
No. Well, once in 9th grade, when I did start cutting, my friends started noticing I didn't want to take my jacket off and stuff. So they confronted me, one of which was struggling with cutting herself. So she kind of knew the signs. And they told my teacher, who then told my parents. We did have a small conversation about it, but they never really, mention it again. They had no point I had done anything like that. But yeah, my friend got me. I got to the ER, and lo and behold, my father was there. He had driven after us and basically was sitting there in the waiting room with me. And, he just flat outly told me, I don't think you need to be here, but what are you doing here? Why do you think you need to go to the hospital? And I just told him that I had taken a lot of painkillers. And he said, why? And at that point, I don't want to talk to anybody about it. So I just said I had a really bad headache. I didn't think that taking a few too many would be that harmful. But yeah, I was admitted for the night, and my father just said, call if you need anything, and left, even though I think he knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't sleep the whole night, and the day after, 2 psychiatrists or something came into the room to ask me if I did try to kill myself. You don't want to say it. So I was like, no, I just had a really bad headache.
Yeah.
They had given me an antidote, which made me throw up this yellow sticky goo. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. So the psychologist didn't press there?
They tried a couple of times, like, are you sure? This was very many, like, you took a lot of pills. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. I just had a headache, and I didn't even want to look at them. So, and then they were like, okay, then I guess you're good to go.
And then what happened?
I skipped school, of course. I went back home, and my parents didn't say anything. Nothing at all.
Have they ever said anything?
Yeah, like now.
Gotcha.
But in the past, they never even mentioned it again.
And between 18 and 24, which is your age now, right? Did you try again?
Yeah. A week later, I tried to overdose again on this time sleeping pills and my antidepressants because they were smaller and easier to swallow. And I just woke up the next day, kind of dizzy, kind of like, well, shit, now I need to get up a new prescription. But,
That's something that doesn't come up much, is if you use your antidepressants, for example, to try to overdose, you now don't have them to take, so you can. Right.
A couple of months later, this was in May, I believe it was in August, I tried to kill myself by cutting deep into my thighs.
Change the method because the other method didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I've already cut, a lot of my thighs. Why not just finish it all?
Try to keep a sort of straight face for whatever people say. There's something about shoving that knife into your thighs that makes me just,
No, you're allowed to react. It's not pleasant.
I bet it wasn't.
No. So I gave myself a couple of 10, 20 deep wounds on each thigh.
Yeah.
And I just sat in the shower, just, looking at the blood pool out. After a while, I got really tired. And I was like, oh, is this finally it? I just fell asleep, honestly.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, it was just like dried blood everywhere. And I was like, damn it. Oh, well, I guess I gotta go to bed now. I'm so tired.
Parents find out?
No. I washed away all the blood and I should have gotten stitches, honestly, but I just had those, I don't know what they're called, like tape pieces for wounds. Stitched myself up and went to bed.
Right now, you have probably pretty nasty scars, right?
Yeah, I do. They did start to fade, and then 2 years later, I started cutting again, and then I stopped, and now, recently, I've started cutting again. The pressure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Cutting doesn't just go away easily, I imagine.
No, it is like an addiction, though.
I'm sure. Yeah. Between that last one and today, you haven't tried.
No, but I've been close.
Do you know the difference between the 3 attempts and being close but not acting on it? Like, what's the difference there?
Like, for example, counting up my painkillers, thinking, why not do it again? This time you're going to destroy your liver once and for all. And then, choosing not to, but, being really close, like holding them in your hand, wanting to, but then like, no.
What's the no? Because before 3 times, there was no.
One thing is my bird. I don't want to leave him alone. He's a very scared bird, Poncho. And I've had him for 6 years now. He's really connected to me. So, yeah, I guess he's the main reason why I haven't done it yet.
Very Norwegian name, Pancho.
Poncho? No.
Joking.
Is it?
No. Your bird helps keep you alive.
Yes. And I'm scared that, they're not going to find a good family for him. Every hour when I'm home, except for when I'm asleep, of course, or if I have a fucking interview, then he's going to be outside, like flying around, eating food and having fun. But I know a lot of people buy parrots just to have them in a cage, and that's very sad.
Parrots are not from Norway, right?
No.
If you just let the parrot go and it acted like a bird, fly.
Oh, no. One of the bigger birds are going to take it. He's very blue. Birds that kill other birds, they love colorful birds.
Well, that's big. That's why you don't have super colorful birds in Norway against the white.
Yeah, that too.
That must be part of it, because why would it be blue if it's going to get itself killed? There's a reason. Wherever it's from, the blue works. Billie's showing me a picture of the bluebird with the red beak. Nice.
Yeah, it's an Indian ringneck parrot. So not from Norway.
Right, totally not from Norway. Don't let that thing out of the house or it's dead.
I'm gonna try not to.
Anything else keep you alive other than the parrot?
I would like to say like hobbies or music or my very best friends, but no. It's the only reason.
What happens if the parrot died?
I've thought about that. I have no idea. Like my logic mind right now says like, oh, you could travel, you could go somewhere else to get a fresh breath of air and, find something else. But at the same time, I don't see any reason worth living if he is not here. So it's kind of a difficult situation.
Did you in all this time, dating back 10 plus years, get any professional help?
Yes, I did. Multiple times. Either from the school nurses. School nurses give you vaccines, but they're also kind of like your psychiatrist in middle school. I spoke to them. They didn't really help me that much. The very first one I went to after I cut myself with a fucking key, she even went like this, "Why did you do this?" And I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you literally demonstrating what I did to me?" I've went to multiple psychiatrists and psychologists.
Did they diagnose you with something you think is correct? Did you get any comfort from them or help or anything?
Yeah, they tried helping me, of course, giving me something to distract me with, helping me talk about my feelings, but they always focused on the wrong things. Like I mentioned, oh, I have a family, but I'm really depressed. And they're like, let's talk about that family. It's so annoying. I got diagnosed.
Wait. Did they say it like that?
Well, it's sort of like, okay, let's talk about your family first. And then we never get to the issue I'm having. Like, it's hopeless. But yeah, I went to psychiatrist, psychologist. I don't know. I started going to one regularly 2 years ago, I believe. She diagnosed me with major depression. I don't know these terms in English. Anxious avoidant personality disorder. So I'm very good at avoiding things. And also unspecified eating disorder, because I'm not quite on the anorexic scale and I'm not binging enough or throwing up enough to be bulimic. So it's kind of a mix.
Yeah, and you've got diabetes.
Diabetes and my hip syndrome, and I also have PCOS, if you know about that. Polycystic ovary syndrome. Basically, I have very long and painful periods, and I could maybe not have children in the future, and that's because of the fucking diabetes.
And you got the bum hip.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Do I have anything else? Oh yeah, I'm also getting a assist for ADHD soon.
You might be zen about it, but is there a sense of like, this is just not fair?
Well, I do feel kind of frustrated when I, talk to people and they have no issue. How is
Right.
that possible? How, and also because, I have a wonderful family. I have friends. I go to a good school. I'm taking getting an education. I got a bird and all that. I still feel like shit. And I hate the thought of, I'm not supposed to be this sad. I'm not supposed to be depressed. I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not. I do get mad about that.
Do you think there's any truth to the idea that when you're trying to feel better and you do things and they don't make you feel better, in a way it's worse because you're trying the thing that's supposed to help maybe a little bit or more. It's eventually you're like, nothing's going to help.
I'm already there, sort of, because I had the music. I'd been in a choir since I was like 6 till around 13, 14, and I played the guitar, ukulele, piano, and all of that. I loved
Wow.
writing music and just playing music. When I went to the high school, music high school, I guess, killed all of my joy. I have a guitar and ukulele, but I never use them. I never play, and I rarely sing, and always I feel shitty. That used to be one of my escapes, not anymore. And we have baking or gaming. Like I'll start to bake or start playing one of my favorite games, and all of a sudden I just feel shitty. That's that.
And what do you do then?
Doom scroll. I usually just watch TikToks or watch YouTube videos for hours upon hours. And even though I'm not really paying attention either,
Right.
just, existing. I wouldn't call it living though. Like it's not a life.
Might be the title. It's not a life.
It's not a life. Yeah. Good
It's
title.
not a bad title. Might need a subtitle, but we'll work on it. We've got time. Kind of.
Yeah, we got time.
In all that time, particularly the last like decade, did you ever go to a hospital?
Like a mental hospital?
Sure, call it that.
No, I never got admitted, but I did have like the question if from my most recent psychiatrist if I wanted to be admitted, and I just said no, no, of course not. I don't need that
Right, right.
because I was scared. I'm terrified.
Yeah. What's the for lack of a better word here, the reputation of those kinds of hospitals in Norway?
Let's just say that there's there's help available. There's a lot of people, but it's not the best. I know a lot of people has been through the system and they hate the people and the help they get because it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, the help is there, but it's not the greatest quality.
Right.
Like I mentioned, my latest psychiatrist, I went to her for almost 2 years and then I felt like it didn't, we didn't have a good connection. I called the reception and I told them I wanted a new one. And later that day, she called me personally to say, why do you want to change?
Oof.
Don't you think we should work more? We've already come this far. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, that sounds, yeah, I don't think that was legal, actually. I do have a history of this, and I did mention it to her. But then a couple weeks later, I said, you know what? I'm done with the treatment. I feel better. I don't need help anymore. I don't want it because I was afraid to ask for a new one again. So she let me go. And now it's been 10 months since my last session.
I wonder how many people kind of do that kind of thing. They're not doing very well at all, but because of what you shared, like, nah, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm getting better. I'm taking my whatever.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. Either if I feel a little better or I feel like they're not helping me, I'm just gonna be like, no, it's fine. I don't need help anymore. But I was recently at my GP and she's like, we're gonna find you a new one. So
yeah.
I'm on my way to get more help again.
Are you on meds these days?
Yeah, I am taking antidepressants. It really helped in the beginning, and then we went up to the maximum dosage, and then I had some complications. I got very high pulse, so recently we've reduced the dose. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's so much worse. Like suicidal thoughts all day, every day, and I would, just feeling sad and hopeless all the time, feeling so much emotion or nothing at all. I must say the medication is more like a blanket covering all the bad, anxious stuff, but not really for the depressive stuff.
When you say all day, every day, I mean, since we've been talking?
Yes.
What is it? Is
like,
it a voice? Is it a feeling?
You could call it a voice. It's sort of like it's, spelling everything out to me, or as if I'm kind of reading it in a book. It kind of goes in a circle. Why are you here? Why are you talking about this? Do you really need to be here? People would be better off without you. it'll be so easy, stuff like that, and also methods. But
Mhm.
that's also the thing. If I'm watching a movie or playing D&D with my friends, as we do every Sunday, it's always there in the back of my head.
Despite all that stuff, including thinking about it all day, every day, you're
Yep.
in college and you have friends that you see at least once a week.
Yes.
And I'm not saying any of that to say, hey, your life is fine. No, I'm not saying. The reason I'm saying that is there's some level of you being able to function in the world.
Yeah. It's been very hard recently, though. I like barely getting out of bed and missing a lot of lectures, but still, I manage to go sometimes because I feel bad if I don't show up. I feel worse if I don't show up.
Archaeology.
Archaeology. So even though I feel like this is hopeless and stuff, I kind of want to get the education to feel accomplished. So
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah. So all of those 3 attempts were in your home and nobody really knew. You mentioned your dad a little bit, but did you ever tell anybody about any of them?
I told my closest friends, like 3 people, half a year later or so. Then I really talked about it. It's very like, oh, we're here to listen to you. Just say whatever you want to say, get it off your mind. But at the same time, they're like trying to distract me, trying to get me to think about other things instead of actually talking about it. Oh yeah, you did. I'm so happy you're alive. Okay, let's talk about something else.
Play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, exactly. My parents, they know now about everything. Not my choice. That was something my psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever it's called, and me were, working on. But one day, I'm going to tell my parents about everything. I'm going to tell them about my struggles and how I'm feeling. This is kind of a traumatic experience for me because this was something, I really was building up myself, working on to tell them myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day my friend kind of pushed me to talk about what was up. Even though I mentioned to her, I do not want to talk. I'm just feeling a bit down. And after pushing me to talk about it, she sent me a message saying, I'm going to call your parents. I'm going to tell them everything. You can't stop me just because this is too much to deal with on my own. So one of my then closest friends no longer basically said, you can talk to me about anything. I'm going to be here for you no matter what. Oh, wait, it's too much. You're too much. I'm going to tell your parents.
Yeah.
I know we're backtracking a bit more, but the reason I didn't want to tell my parents was because I had tried once before to tell them I was depressed, and also on a separate occasion tried to tell them I was a lesbian. And both times I was met with, I don't think you are this, you're just following with the trend. We don't really think it's you. You're just pretending. So I was met with a lot of resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times are you going to go back to that person or people if they do that? No, you probably won't.
Yeah, exactly. So she called my parents. I just ran up to my friend, my best friend who lived close by, and just had a panic attack. Told them about everything going on. And then later we went back down together so that we could have a talk with parents. It did end up being stressful, but kind of nice because we did get to go through everything and talk about it all. But at the same time, I was not ready. Not at all. After that, they really became like helicopter parents. They paid attention to everything I did. One day when I didn't hear my alarm, my mother drove home as fast as she could just to see if I killed myself. Yeah. And also during that conversation, I did bring up, I think I said something like, what about the time I tried to commit suicide when I had taken all those pills? Didn't my dad tell you? They both just said, oh, we thought that was just, something you needed to do, something that is just typical teenager stuff.
That sounds like they didn't believe that it was an actual attempt. It was more like a quote cry for help or that kind of thing.
Yeah. They did not believe me that I was doing it because I didn't want to be here. They believed that I was doing it because of a trend or to be cool.
Yeah. And being a lesbian.
Yeah, that's also cool.
Do you wish ever that any of those 3 attempts had been successful? You had been able to complete suicide? You think about that?
Yeah.
Often?
I mean, at least twice a week. Yeah. My mind drifts back to those moments and kind of reliving it. Sometimes I want to do it again because it's kind of freeing to think about it. It was a traumatic moment, but it could have all been over.
Does your gender and or sexuality play a role in all this?
No, I don't think it does. I was met with a bit of resistance and that they didn't really believe me when I first told them, but they don't know about my gender. They just see me as the little old girl they daughter. That's the thing though with being agender. I don't feel like any pronouns fit me better when they say she, it doesn't really, I don't mind it. But I also like them and they, them, or he, him. Everything fits. I actually love it when people are like, I don't know what pronouns you use. And I'm like, thank you.
Well, I don't know how
But
it is there, generally speaking, but like in here, man, I feel like, ooh, if you get the pronoun wrong, people get upset. I'm like, I'm trying, man.
yeah, I understand that with my best friend being trans too. They get misgendered a lot at work, and people see you as something you don't want to be, that you're not anymore. It's kind of
Yeah.
painful. But yeah, my sexuality has been the only struggle is that my parents didn't believe me. But I did get a girlfriend, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I guess this is your life now."
You have a girlfriend or you had a girlfriend?
I had a girlfriend for 4.5 years. That was my first one as well. She broke up with me because it was too much. She was struggling herself, so we didn't really help each other.
Right. When was that?
When was that? 2021. So only 2 years ago,
When did you start listening to the podcast?
before we broke up.
As we speak right now, how many people do you have to talk to, really?
I would say none, actually.
Hmm.
Like my parents know, my sister knows, my best friend knows, but it's kind of like they don't want to listen. Either I'm too afraid to talk about it, especially with my parents, because traumatic experience. I'm afraid they're gonna be very worried. I don't like worrying people. I mean,
Yeah.
no one likes to, but especially my friend. We've been through a lot of stuff together, but still, I feel like I'm bothering him, yeah, or them. They have problems themselves. And also when I, try to talk about it, especially, my attempts, it's always like I mentioned earlier, just change the subject. We just need to distract me and then it'll all be better, even though I need to talk about it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I asked that particular question in that way. It's not who knows about it, right? It's who can you talk
Yeah.
to about
So
it.
yeah,
And
no one really wants to talk about it. They just want to avoid it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very common, unfortunately. But when you're finally ready to open up and they're like, can we talk about something else?
Yeah. So I have a couple more questions. Does anything help?
No, nothing else. The only thing that has helped me with my anxiety, getting heart palpitations or just feeling stressed out is my vape. That's the only thing. I started
Vape.
vaping like a month ago, 2 months. In that aspect, it's better, but nothing else works.
Not even your earrings? Because those are pretty cool.
I do have a pretty rad collection of earrings.
What are
Is
we
it
looking at here? These look like orange-ish yellow dragons.
pterodactyls, dinosaurs?
Big old dinosaur-like bird type things hanging from Billie's ears. There's also other earrings that too. They're big though. They're probably like, 3 inches across or something. Yeah. Some piercings and some earrings. You got some swag. Okay. Several tattoos, I notice. Very interesting. People who want to kill themselves don't get tattoos, do they? They don't plan, or do they? Maybe I'm totally wrong. They probably do. I shouldn't be so presumptuous.
Well, I know a lot of people use tattoos as something therapeutic. Instead of harming yourself, you get something beautiful on your body, and it's kind of also the scratching. If you're used to cutting yourself, it's kind of the same sensation. You have to look after it. So, I would say it's therapeutic, but also if you have an appointment to get a tattoo and you want to show it off, it's just another reason to stay, at least for that moment.
Then you could almost argue one's life is just making these little moments, appointments, whatever, for reasons to stay. And that might ultimately be what the whole damn life is, regardless of how long you live.
I must say that when I do have an appointment, I am looking forward to it. And I'm like, I can't harm my skin right now. I need to be pristine to get tattooed. So I guess that's a good reason, I guess, if you have the money.
Norway's government is not subsidizing tattoos like they do other healthcare.
How dare they?
You could go right down to Oslo, the capital, and have a chat, but they probably won't change their policies about that.
Doubt it.
Okay. Pink purple pill question. It's basically, I give you a pill, let's say tonight, you feel no pain and nobody knows that it was a suicide. Would you take it?
If I had a way to ensure that my bird gets a family tomorrow, then yes. If I know that my bird will get, moved to someone else tomorrow, then yes.
All right.
Would you?
No.
No.
But nobody's ever asked me that. I appreciate it.
I know.
Well, you don't know only because I edit, right? So sometimes I'll edit things out. Not a lot. I don't think I would take. No, I wouldn't take it.
But you were considering.
Well, I
Oh,
think about everything, but no, I wouldn't take it.
well, thank you for your honesty.
Sure. I don't think I have to be actively suicidal to host this podcast.
No, you're right.
Who the fuck else is doing it, Billy? Nobody.
Exactly.
I wonder how I would feel like if somebody said, "Oh, this is a really interesting idea," and they did their own podcast, and it was like very, very similar to the format. I should be like, "Good, we need more of these conversations," but there'd be part of me, ego-driven, that would be like, "I'm better at this than he is, or she is, or
This
they
is
are."
my podcast.
Yeah,
My I understand.
yeah. TBH. So, are there any myths that you want to dispel?
I do hate the myth that I mentioned earlier about being selfish as much as I have believed it myself, even. Suicidal people or in general depressed people, they don't want to be in that way. They don't want to think the way they do. They just want to stay, but they see no reason or feel, hopeless. Oh, yeah. And also, when people mention that, don't you know what it would do to your family or your friends? They're going to be crushed. And I'm like, yes, I fucking know. I've thought about it a lot. Don't you think I'm aware of what I'm doing to my family if I kill myself?
Mm-hmm.
I am totally aware. And I hate that because then you feel so much worse. Some people could say it's actually contributing to wanting to kill yourself because you feel very bad.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, it's just teenagers and kids that kill themselves. I know I'm a very young adult. I'm only 24, but I remember, like my parents even said, we thought it was just a phase since you were, under the age of 20. So I've kind of felt that. Yeah. And I've also heard people, talking about this and being like, oh, it's okay once they reach adulthood. They'll be fine. No.
Middle-aged men here in certain parts of this country are very high levels, and also older people. And part of the reason is, it's complicated, is the way we treat older people here. So that doesn't help, obviously.
Oh, but yeah, people need to understand that to have suicidal ideation, you don't need to be below the age of 18. You can be, as little as 3 to fucking 140.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Remember when you said you were talking to your friends or sharing with them, and then they kind of deflected and said something like, let's play Dungeons and Dragons or do something else? When you were talking about it, the moment before they deflected, what would you want them to say?
I think I would like them to say, like, no matter what you're thinking about, no matter what you need to say, just say it. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just here to listen. And if you want a distraction or if you want to talk about it, then we'll do that.
Options. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, options.
That takes a certain level of awareness.
Yeah.
And that takes a certain level of, I suppose, intentionality. There's something about framing things clearly, right? So to say to somebody, hey, I know there's no value in me trying to like offer a bunch of solutions. I do know a place that I do know someone who's really good to talk to. If that's what you want, let me know. That's very different than you should go talk to this person. It's a totally different thing you're saying.
And I gotta say, I do understand that not everyone is, comfortable talking about it. That some people think it's very difficult to respond in a good way. Like they don't know how to respond. So that's why if I, gather up the courage to actually talk about it, I say, do you mind if I share some heavy stuff, or do you mind if we talk? It's kind of deep. And then they say yes or no. But at the same time, that's exactly what happened to my ex-friend who told my parents.
I think you're making a really good point in that, like, letting somebody know and giving them an option as well.
Yeah, especially since the last thing I want to do is be a burden to someone. So I know if they can't handle it, then I'm not going to, talk about this with them.
One of the hardest things for me to figure out is that I wouldn't be able to have these conversations like 8 hours a day. And also the dynamic here is different than me being your friend and meeting for coffee. And there's just many differences. But because I'm so, at least I feel this way, I don't know how it sounds like to people. Like, I'm so okay listening to this stuff and talking about it. It's a little hard for me to be like, I don't understand why it's so hard for you. I need to improve upon this idea that not everybody's just that way. However, I don't know how I got, and they're just not.
Yeah.
But I'm critical of it. Come on, man, just do better. Not that hard, but I think it might be.
Yeah, not everyone is cut out for it.
Not everyone's cut out for it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not cut out for most things, but a couple things I can do okay.
I mean, you're doing this podcast pretty okay, so.
That's one of them. I think I'm doing okay. There's all the very long list of all kinds of other things that many people do well that I do not.
Fair enough.
So you're 24. I think based on what we've talked about, I have a sense that the following answer, this is the worst interviewing style ever to predict someone's answer, is I don't know. This is your answer. Here's the question. Will you make it to 25?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wrong. Love being wrong. 25. Okay.
Let's just say I think so. No promises.
What else would you like to share here? I know you had probably some things on your mind. You also mentioned earlier something about we'll get to this later in reference to the notes. I don't know what you meant by that. So I just want to make sure you have a chance to say what you want to say.
Well, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I can say that I have 6 notes in my closet right now, just in case. Yeah.
6 notes just in case. And there are 6 different notes to 6 different people?
Yes. So share one to my parents, and I have one for my sister, and 3 of my closest friends. No, wait, that was just 5. Never mind. Pretty lengthy letters.
How lengthy?
Like, a normal page, and I filled it up with tiny, tiny writing for each of them because I feel so bad if it were to happen, but at the same time, it's not enough to make me stay if I ever feel that way.
Well, given that some of the stuff is genetic, does your sister also struggle?
Yes, she has struggled with an eating disorder, and she's also got the avoidant personality disorder. We both have it, but she has not been as depressed, I think, as I have, and she has never attempted that I know of. We have talked about, we did talk about it pretty in great depth, but yeah.
Do you avoid each other or avoid other people?
Other people.
Doesn't apply to your relationship with her, just others.
Yeah, no, it's really easy for me to, say, yes, I'm going to join this, and then I'm going to, change my mind later.
So, yeah, and from what you've shared, it sounds like you isolate a fair amount.
Yes, I do.
And right now it's what, 7:18 there, 8:18 p.m.?
Yeah, 7:18.
So, did you stay in bed all day?
No. I actually had an appointment with my physiotherapist for my fucking hip. And I had a lecture at school. I did not pay any attention, but I was there, I guess. And then home, chopped up some vegetables. I'm making dumplings.
That's a good day. And that's a day. That's a full day.
That's it. We could call it a day, yeah.
School, appointment, cooking, this conversation. And then what's the rest of the night like?
I'm gonna finish making the dumplings and freeze them. Yeah, go to bed. Maybe try to get up for another lecture tomorrow.
Maybe do some TikTok scrolling while you're in bed.
Yes, I do have a party tomorrow. Oh, we didn't really talk about that. If you don't mind, I've kind of abused alcohol too lately. 4 to 5 out of the 7 days in a week I'm drinking.
When did that start?
Only like a month or 2 ago.
What are you drinking?
Anything from vodka to rum to just liquor.
Getting super drunk?
Not like super drunk, but enough to feel it and to feel less stressed out, less here. I want to feel like kind of distant.
I mean, people cope how they cope, right? They want to feel less shitty. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Also because, the time moves faster if you're drinking. You don't have to stay awake for as long.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, enjoy the dumplings.
Yes, I will try, but it's like at 10 a.m. and I'm struggling getting up. It's a struggle to get up in the morning.
Oh, yeah. In Norway, first Norwegian, representing an entire country. You think people up there might hear this episode?
Yeah, no one's going to find this anyway, so.
They'd have to really proactively, actively look for something like this to find it. It's not going to just pop off and be like, oh my God, I know Billie. When it comes out, and hopefully you'll listen. I know it can be hard. Do you tell people? That's another thing that maybe you don't know until it comes out. Do I actually tell? Because I think it actually serves this other function in a way where it's like, okay, I've talked about some of this stuff. Now it's out. And instead of me, for example, talking to my parents or my friends, I have this thing that's easily accessible to most people. Maybe not your parents if they're a little older, but so easy to just say, hey, you know what? Instead of us talking about it, and this is just one option people can have. It's like, go to Apple, go here, search this thing, go click on there, and then you'll hear it. Like, I think that's an interesting option for people that didn't exist. Yeah.
As it's now, I don't think I will mention it to anyone, but we'll see. Maybe it does get better, and I want to be like, hey, this is how I felt.
Sure. But people will hear it out there in the world.
Yeah, I do hope I can be of some help, or,
sure.
that people, can stomach to take the First step.
Well, I mean, just like you listened to it, and in some ways it was helpful. I'm sure, for others it's the same. So, all right. Thank you, Billie. Enjoy the dumplings. And I appreciate, again, you chatting with me so openly.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Enjoy your evening as best one can.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Ciao. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. And special thanks to Billie in Norway. Thank you, Billie. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. And if you like the podcast, get something from it, please rate and review it on Apple or Spotify. It really helps people find it, and we do want more people to find it. Thanks very much for that. And that is all for episode number 187. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.